Hi, Ellie. Good to see you. Hello. Uh,
Hi.
Today I have the privilege to sit down with someone who is not only being a major contributor to the field of management, but also personally, Ellie. You have taught me the principles of theory of constraints in the beginning of this century already in Antwerp. I really remember this. And it is not staggering to say that these insights become to the foundation upon which we build Epic Flow. And your insights really profoundly influence my understanding of managing complex environments and strategies we employ to ensure business success. And we will discuss this in this
Oh, great to hear.
interview. Yeah, and after Dr. Goldratt wrote the book The Goal, you wrote together with him the successor of it. Yeah, it's in Dutch. I have it in Dutch, but it's called Necessary but Not Sufficient. And you wrote many other great books. And I looked in my bookshelf there, and I saw, for example, Manufacturing at Warp Speed. That's a long time ago, eh?
Yes, quite.
Yeah.
Also about 20 something years.
Yes, and I saw this post-it in it, and I looked, and then I'm always curious. What was it? What I found so interesting, and I saw here something like throughput per constraint unit, throughput thinking, and that triggered me because some time ago, I think a few months ago, I bought this book of you. Is this your latest book?
Yeah, my latest, yes.
Throughput economics, really, that's really great. And like you also did in the early days, we incorporated those teachings that you have in this book into our simulator. And like we also love to play with your simulator, we see still now, if we play it with our audience, people love and enjoy to grab those insights based on business games, on using a simulator. So I really want to thank you for that. You teach us that, and we are still doing that.
Great, good.
Yeah. So enough about this, because I know you don't like that such a big introductions about you probably. Yeah? But let's start with the interview that also really influenced my work. And in order to do that, we prepared a few slides because you wanted to have, of course, some control. And the first slide is about, you put as title there, never say I know, never say I don't know, and that you always know something but never know everything. Can you
Right.
elaborate on that philosophy behind these statements and how it influenced your approach regarding uncertainty and also knowledge in general?
All right. When you face uncertainty, you must tell yourself that you don't know exactly what is going to happen. Now, Goldratt did have a pillar of TOC that he called Never Say I Know. It could mean several things. But I also remember from my interaction with Dr. Goldratt that every time he asked me a question and I sort of said that I don't know, then he was sort of furious with me and said, how you don't know? At least you know this, and you know this, and you know this, so you know something, right?
I will tell that to my software engineers when I ask for an estimation. Yeah.
Great, good, because it gave me some kind of perspective about what kind of mindset we should have. Because on the one hand, we should never say that we know, because we never fully know. But we
Okay.
need to recognize that we know something. So we know how to start. Otherwise, we are paralyzed, because if I don't know means I cannot do anything about it, right? I simply don't know, and that's it. No,
Yeah. Okay.
you know enough on what to do, or at least what to think about, and what kind of decision you need eventually to make. So I think this is a kind of mindset that I think living in uncertainty forces you to go and get this kind of understanding and mindset.
Okay, let's keep this in mind when we discuss the topics. We have 4 main topics during this interview. I will cover them in about 15 minutes. If you have questions, you can put them in the chat. I think Anastasia is guiding us. She is already putting some phrase in there that you know where to put it. You can put them in the chat of LinkedIn. At the end, she will put those questions on the screen and we will discuss them. We will do it in about 15 minutes, plus or minus. We have some uncertainty. Ellie and I don't have a fixed constraint at the hour. So if we have covered all the subjects in about 15 minutes, but if it takes a little bit more time to answer your questions, if you have loads of questions, for us it's not really a problem to continue a little bit longer. Yes, let's go to the first topic and make it also a bit more tangible. And this is about identifying the impact of common and expected uncertainty. And can you give us some real life examples of common and expected uncertainty?
We all know about common and expected uncertainty. If I need to go to the airport, okay, to catch a flight, so let us say to go through check-in and security will take, well, an hour. And then the way might take, let us say 30 minutes. Should I take exactly 1.5 hours before? Well, I don't know about you, Albert. I take at least 1.5 hour more.
In the Netherlands, we take even more because it's always in the news that you have to take more.
But, yes, because sometimes it takes more. Yeah. Sometimes there is traffic problem. Sometimes there is some problems at the airport, and eventually I need to catch a flight, and the flight will not wait just for me. Okay, so I need somehow to take precaution. In this common and expected uncertainty, when it comes to organizations, this becomes almost a killer to my mind. Because, you know, big management, they might think about all kinds of big risks. The typical risks have very low probability to happen, but when they happen, they cause huge damage. Okay, certainly we need to think about those. But eventually, quite a lot of the trouble of the vast majority of the organizations, certainly in projects, suffer because of the common and expected uncertainty. First of all, because they do not even ask themselves, what is the difference? What is their own, in their own field, common and expected uncertainty? And I like to give you a real story about it. Well, I was approached by a company to try to investigate how come that a very important project that should have taken 1 year took actually 5 years. By the management coming to me, it is clear they did not think that what happened there was common and expected uncertainty. They did not expect the project to take 5 years. Maybe 2, they would tolerate it if it would have taken only 2 years. But here comes a surprising point. When I started to talk with the people the professional who made the project, they were really hard. They could not understand even my approach, that I think that the fact that it took 5 years was any kind of a failure. The project, they told me, is a huge success. In the US, they are working on it already for more than 10 years and are not close to what we have succeeded to come up with. And it repeated itself this kind. And then suddenly I realized what happened here. To start with this kind of a very, very, very ambitional project, the people thought that they would be happy if they will finish in 5 years. So how come the plan was for only 1 year?
Oh, I understand. Because if they told up front, they would never start.
Of course, and they all wanted to have this project, great project, because they really believe that they have a direction. Did they thought that really it will take 1 year? 1 year was probably the most optimistic kind of a prediction you could make. So here is, because if you don't try to really understand what is the impact of common and expected uncertainty in your environment, you are going to suffer a lot, and the vast majority of the organizations suffer from it quite a lot. And part of the whole thing is small things happen, and many times they actually impact each other. So the overall delay or problem start to get bigger and bigger, which is called the domino effect.
Yeah, you put that at
Okay.
at the third point, eh?
This is the third point, and really the second point here is actually about that once you understand the common and expected uncertainty, you don't try even to plan in detail that is more that your common and expected uncertainty. Because what do you want? That every day will happen something that will actually force the people to override the plan, because we cannot just follow it because we did not get this material, or this guy did not finish what he was supposed to do, or something every day kind of happening like this.
But I have a question about that. So isn't scheduling then useless?
Depending on what you call schedule, what are the real important things that you must know? Another story for you, and this is really coming from Goldratt to me. Like you said, I developed certain simulation games that was in much use in our education system. And one day Goldratt came to me and said, Eli, how long will it take you to develop a new feature? And he described me as a new feature. And I remember what went on in my head. In my head was that on the face of it, it looks simple enough. So maybe I can, in 3 or 4 days, finish it. But in order to do it, there was one part in my code that was so complicated that any addition to it is very risky. So, my first inclination was not to tell Goldratt how long will it take. So I said, I will be immediately on it and I will let you know. But he started to be angry, and he said, Eli, at least you can tell me whether it's closer to 2 hours or to 2 years. And then suddenly it fell to me. He does not need a number. He needs something that will describe to him at about what time will it be ready. So I said, it will not be more than 2 weeks. And he said, okay, this is what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
And this is something that we need to think especially about projects, because in projects there is huge amount of uncertainty, and all good project managers are very well aware of it, because this is their daily work, is to deal with this kind of common and expected uncertainty, and they understand intuitively that they need to cover each one, because otherwise, who knows, they may accumulate. So a delay of 2 days here, 3 days there, another week here could eventually delay the whole project by 6 months. And this started to be above.
But is this what you meant with the domino effect, or did you mean that?
This
Yes.
is the kind of the domino effect. Look, something simple. If I need to do a task, but in order to do my task, I need you to finish something, and I need Jan Willem to finish something, and I need another person to finish something. And you all tell me that by next Friday, they will be ready so I can start. What is the chance that I will not be able to start on Friday because one of you, for whatever reason, is somewhat delayed?
Yeah, that's the multiplication of all the factors of
Okay.
uncertainty of all those people.
The delay of one of the three will cause me to start late, and much higher probability that the whole thing will be delayed.
Okay.
When you accumulate those things, here you get the domino effect.
Yes, and I'm working a lot in multi-project environments. Like now we think about one project that you need maybe several items or several people to work on. But if you have multiple projects, then the domino effect explodes. And I think we will come also later to that in one of those.
And this is one thing that we need to learn how to deal with.
Yeah.
So we need to learn, first of all, what is sort of common and expected, and what is above it. This is something irregular, kind of a black swan, if you want, or what is normal, usual, and then we should cover it so our clients will not even feel it.
Yeah, I think this is a nice bridge to the next subject, topic to discuss. What can we do about this? And let me go here to the. And we call this the protection, including protection mechanisms, like buffers that we need against uncertainty. And my question to you is, what type of buffers are you talking about? Because we all know time buffers from critical chain, and but there are probably many other types of buffers.
There are many types of buffers. In the critical chain, there is a lot of emphasis on time buffer, which means, but then again, part of the thinking in the critical chain is I don't want to buffer everything, because not everything is important. Important to me are milestones. Important to me is a successful completion of the project. So I like to put buffers where it really counts. But then I give it time. But of course, it's not only time, it is money. It impacts budgets. It should impact budgets. It should impact capacity, how much people we need actually to do the work that we do. Albert, if every employee gives me 48 working hours a week, can we really utilize from every employee 48 hours of net work that each one of them brings us some kind of revenues? Can we?
Some customers believe, but no.
No.
This is also for us always a great performance indicator to see at the end of the week what is indeed what did you deliver as planned work. Yeah,
absolutely. So we cannot tell our customer, oh, sorry, we were late, but we have 2 people who got sick for 2 days, and 2 had a certain crisis in their family, so the head was not in it. So we were delayed by a whole week.
I find this, by the way, a nice example. People got sick because if I do an estimate and I will have some natural variation about it, but if somebody got sick, you have to protect it in a different way,
Yes.
and so you need another type of buffer.
Yes. And again, buffer is one type of protection mechanism that we put some spare. And the problem is that managers don't like to put spare.
Moreover, we have a big customer who said when we introduced it, he said, "Please don't call it buffer," because they see then buffer as a waste, yeah? And so buffer has it has a negative.
Yes, it has a negative connotation of a waste,
Yes.
and we had to waste.
Yeah.
But what about if we do have common and expected uncertainty? We have to waste something. We have to waste. So also what we buy in the supermarket is usually just a little bit more than what we really eat normally.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the Netherlands now we have a week against food waste. So because if you buy too much, yeah, you have excess, and what to do with that extra? So you can use it smartly.
Yes.
It's not all waste. So and if I think about projects, then I plan a number of projects that have fixed milestones, and we need to achieve it. Really important. And I'm not stupid. Also for ourselves, we put buffers in there. But I also have projects which actually, and I don't know if I should call it projects, they don't have a strict deadline. So if I see that I don't need the buffer in my other projects to protect the due dates, I can let them do other things.
Yes, then you don't need it.
So it's not a waste.
Then you put the end date, some kind of question mark, it could move. And if there is no special interest in it, this is okay.
Yeah.
But sometimes the completion date is critical.
Yes, and those ones must be protected, as you said, the important milestones and the delivery dates. Yeah.
See, at some time we were invited, several of us, for the Olympic committee of a country towards the Olympic Games. And what to do there, because you have a date and you need to meet the date, and what are your buffers there? By the way, the buffers, there is huge amount of money that most of it could be not wasted if there was somewhat better understanding of how to plan. And then also that a certain waste I need to put because I need it as a buffer. Otherwise, the damage will be so much more. So sometimes I need a buffer. If you can go to the points below.
Yeah.
Because the immediate insight is, once you understand it, please understand something extremely important. Your people buffer themselves. You don't want it, but because you measure their performance, they buffer themselves. So if someone else, rather than Eli Goldratt, will ask me, how long will it take? And I will try to fight the 2 weeks because I know, while I know that it might take only 3 days, I still like to have my 2 weeks at least. Okay. So if I have it clearly, and this is a buffer, this means there is an understanding that sometimes I need and sometimes I don't need, and sometimes I need a buffer of only 2 days. I don't need a whole 1.5 weeks to buffer myself. And so I take it into that most buffers can be partially consumed. And this already I understand. And generally speaking, I don't like to waste my whole buffer. This will connect us to the next point. But the whole thing is, it's part of the planning, and buffers
Yes.
should be visible and should be put at the appropriate places in the plan, so they protect the critical part of the plan and they don't protect every small part. Not every task need to be protected.
No, but isn't this also not about trust? That if you want to make your buffers visible, you expose yourself. So that requires a lot of trust by management in the organization that people use those buffers wisely.
Yes, and there is a need to be some kind of education about it, and people needs to believe me if I am the boss that I really mean it. Which means if I say I give you 2 weeks, but if it takes you more, I will not put you against you. I will understand that sometimes it happens.
Yeah.
Only not every time, of course. But sometimes it could happen, and I put an appropriate buffer to deliver it. Then you can build a trust. There is a buffer that is buffer not just for you, but for several. But you know that there is an understanding that once you claimed that it could take you 3 weeks, but you were giving 2 weeks, because many times you can finish it in 2 weeks or maybe even less. But there is somewhere else, there is a buffer that if it takes you 3 weeks, this is okay. The client will not feel it because we will still deliver on time.
Yes, and internally we had also those types of projects where you put extra capacity to it or whatever.
Okay, you have more buffers, not just time.
Yes, so I want to go also in that direction. It's not only time; it can also be capacity, and we have also a lot of people now in the audience which come from agile environments. So there, I think we have also scope as a buffer.
We might have scope as a buffer. Again, depending on what kind of scope, etc. We don't want to go here into too many details.
Yeah.
But I've already also in my latest book really explains the role of the capacity buffer, which many times this is you can increase capacity whenever you need it, but you need to pay for it, like overtime, like temporary workers or freelancers that I can get at any given time. And these are buffers, and I need to understand that they are buffers.
Yeah.
And immediately we will see that we need also to monitor the buffers, not just put them in the planning.
Yeah, we come to that in the next topic. But we in Epic Flow we also invested a lot in you can also call this a buffer in supporting multiple skills, because we already saw in what if analysis, there comes the simulation again, but we do it on also practical data, that you can see really a tremendous performance gain. And resource also showed that if you have 10 to 20% of your employees, if they are able and willing to work in other departments or teams for only 10 to 20% of the time, you can solve 80% of your latency problems. So this is not a real visible buffer in time or capacity, but it is a great asset of a company.
It is a great asset of the company. The only remark I will say about it, here you see, many buffers can be partially consumed, but there are some buffers that either you consume them or not. So you already gave kind of an example to it about multi-capabilities, because if generally speaking, I am an analyst, but if needed, only if needed, because I don't know, I have enough experience in programming. So If there is a real need of some programmers to do some work, from time to time I can do it. So either you use my extra capability or you don't, but the existence of this possibility is a buffer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another kind of example is something like this. I mean, I want to keep my house so no one will break into it, so I put an alarm system. The alarm, either it goes off or it does not. So it's not partially consumed.
Yeah.
Buffers, and quite a lot of them, that are partially consumed have some kind of an advantage that I can easily monitor them. And here we come to the next point.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. The next point is about setting priorities in the execution phase based on actual consumption of the buffer. So here you talk about this partially consumed
Look, if
buffer.
all your buffers are that you have put a middle level manager that will put and try to deal with any fire that is breaking, one of the immediate problems will come up. What happens when there are two fires? So what to do?
What to do? That leads to the first point.
Yes.
That you need only one priority scheme. This is why you put this topic there.
Absolutely, because here is a real need. And I'd like to highlight the work of Alex Knight, who did something I think great. At the time in the health system in the UK, it was more than 20 years ago that the Labour Party came into power, and they put something like kind of a performance measurement on hospitals that says all the emergency rooms, anyone coming in should be treated and released or hospitalized in 4 hours. They should not wait in the emergency room more than 4 hours. So here was a time limit. Alex Knight was thinking about it, and he made a small system there that says if after 1.5 someone came in, after 1.5 hours, the entry in the computers or all the screens, it will go into the color of yellow. And if another 1.5 hour current, there is only 1 hour, is already 3 hours in the emergency room, there is only 1 hour left, it will come in red. And this changed the whole attitude in all the hospitals in which it was coming in, just to let you know how much time already passed and how much time you still have.
Yeah. Yeah, you made it very visible. So you made the partially consumption of the buffer very visible.
Yes, and it helped, for instance, the labs that checked the blood. Once a patient become red, they know, okay, we need to put it before the rest because we need to bring up the results, let us say in 30 minutes, because someone needs to make a decision based on the blood test. That's kind of an idea.
And it's also good that you put a very simple measurement there.
Very simple.
It's really simple because when we discuss with companies in multi-project organizations, we show them 3 projects at the start. Yuri, my partner, developed this small game, and we asked them 3 really simple projects. And I'm now Anna, the first one to start. Which project should I take? And almost nobody knows the right answer, and moreover, they don't have a policy in their own organization where to start with, and I find this even worse than having a worse policy, not an optimal policy.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we can learn from the health system, but we did it, of course, in project management, in manufacturing, in service organizations. Generally speaking, we call this buffer management. This is a name given to the idea of you put the buffer in the planning, and during execution, you monitor the actual consumption of the buffers, and it gives you kind of a measure whether you about right or not, and especially out of everything that I need to put my attention on, what is the most important? What is the one that I must attend now?
Yeah, and I think the word that you say about right,
Yes.
that should be leading, because I think we believe now too much with all the systems that we also develop, that we emphasize too much on what's the optimal schedule.
Yes,
And I think then it refers back to your beginning statement. You don't know everything. Yeah. So
I don't know everything, and the one who first put it so clearly was Professor Herbert Simon. And those of you who have never heard about him, go to Google. Professor Simon got the Nobel Prize, I believe, in 77
yes,
or 78. And he said that people as people, they are not optimizers. He called it satisficers.
satisfiers. Yeah.
Yes. In other words, what is good enough? My problem is, he said it about people, in individuals. Problem is that the culture within organization is that you have to achieve optimum. Optimal, you have optimal result, optimal schedule, etc. Sorry, you cannot. You simply cannot. And by ignoring, you make it much worse. If you understand that you cannot at a certain level, then it will help you to put, first of all, to put the buffers in, to monitor the buffers, eventually to achieve more. But you must understand no optimum in reality. Sorry for that. We don't even have the probability function of things to happen. We don't have the distribution function that mathematicians will speak about.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I totally agree with you, because this was also the subject of my thesis. You have schedules and you have the human factor, and this also refers to Simon, that you say, yeah, and how I express it, you need to have one priority scheme to dictate what to do next, but you have to use your brain to decide what to pick from this list. Maybe it's not the first one, it could be the second or the third one, but it will not be number 50 on the list. And that was also outcome of my research, that people are very well capable of making that decision as long as you provide one priority scheme. So
Absolutely, you need to. Absolutely need.
before I dive into that subject, because then we will be never on time, you put another point there, huh?
Yes,
Can
because
you tell me a bit about what you meant with that?
what I like to do here, and it is very important for project, but unfortunately, at least Golva did not come with a good scheme for project management with it, is that I need to know eventually. I've put buffers. I always start with a good guess about what buffer I should put buffers. Could be that they are not enough. Could be that there is a change in the environment and suddenly my buffering system is not enough. And I need to get an early warning about it. And then maybe I can do something in a hurry. And so monitoring the state of many buffers, because I have many missions that I need to do. I promised quite a lot to the market. I need everything to be about right. And so I need to see what is my overall state of my overall organization, all my project or my product or my services. What is the situation right now? Is it about right? or it started to be wrong and I need to do
Start
something.
to crash, what you say here. Yeah.
Yes, maybe too much demand is coming on me.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of demand coming to me is good, right? If it is too much, it could be alarming. And I need
Oh,
to
that's a
get
fine line, eh?
fine line.
Yeah.
In our language, we sort of gave it the term too much red,
Too
because
much red.
coming to the last part of the buffer, we call it red. We also like to color it in red. And if there are too many reds, this is a warning signal.
No, you are, in my opinion, you are already too late, because this is also why we developed Epic Flow. So when I started, I worked with critical chain, and time buffers were sufficient there. But
Yes.
then I went into multi-project management, which is a totally different ball game. And when I did my first implementation, I left the company there, all projects in green. I came back a few weeks later, still okay, one or two projects in red. But then after it, the whole portfolio crashed. And we discovered later on, and we showed this also in our simulator, we looked at the wrong measurement. For multi-projects, we should not look at the time buffers, because what happened, a time buffer shows you if your delivery date is in danger, but it doesn't show you if all the less important paths are becoming more critical. And at the end, everything became critical. So
You are absolutely right here.
yeah,
You need, in your case, to look into capacity and how much the people are facing to have, not just. So you are absolutely right. But this is still very important, because between you and me, all the other tools in order to warn me about the possibility of a overall crash are based on data. While buffer management, part of the nice thing about it, it's not about data. You gave it time or how long it should take, this and this and this and this and this, and I'm just telling you how much you already consumed out of it. That's all.
yeah,
This all the data, because capacity requires data. Okay, if we can have both too, because I came with something similar to what you described for project. I came for manufacturing mainly.
planned load, eh?
Yes, this is what I
Yeah.
call the plan load, and I showed when it started to be very risky. And yes, it gives me an early warning. But many times I find myself that I need the combination, both this and buffer management, to tell me at what point I should not go too much close next time.
Yeah, but it are
I'm
what I
already
call
there.
it are two sides of the same coin. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Two
Hey,
sides of the same coin, but they look on different things, which makes them very strong when
yeah,
they are coupled together.
yeah. Nice. I could talk an hour only about this subject. We go to
Absolutely.
the last topic.
The last topic is an overall observation that includes everything that we went here.
Yeah, and
Look, it worries me a lot when I see in too many cases people are taking forecast as one number.
yeah, you also put it on this slide. I will put it here.
No,
Eh?
okay.
Yeah. So I
So
have a question about this, about the statements you make here. How do you define with that question you will get what's reasonable?
look, eventually we don't have a choice but to have a judgment. And when we put a judgment, this is a guess. And when I have a guess, I can check it in reality whether it's about right or not. This is the way we can learn from experience. And so, what is reasonable? I don't want to plan against things that are pretty rare, like that my supplier will be hit by a tsunami, and so I will not get what I need, and I need to find a new supplier, etc. When I just make a commitment to a client, I don't take this kind of happening into account, even though I know it could happen. Okay, it could happen, but I like to get everything that is reasonable to happen. And if a supplier promise me a supply in 2 months, maybe I need to take account that could be that it will take 3 months from him, and I need to have enough buffer in my plan to tolerate 1 month's lateness of one or more suppliers.
The expected uncertainty.
Expected uncertainty. But the same will come to forecast, in which usually it comes to the market. What do you mean? I know how much sales we will make next year or next month. Again, never say I know, but also never say I don't know. Don't tell me I have no idea. Of course, you have some idea, but you can give me a range. So if we come to the first example of going to the airport, I have some kind of a range that I certainly need to go out 1.5 hours before the flight, and maybe I should go to 3 hours in order just to be on the safe side, even though spending 1 hour time in the airport is not a very
No.
entertaining thing. Okay, this is a price that maybe I need to pay for being certain that I'm going to take the flight. And so it is about how much capacity we need to prepare for the sales of next month. It is how much we should produce to stock, and when can we promise our clients a project, to give a very good idea that in the vast majority of the times we will meet it. And again, I don't speak about black swans that could happen. So we should not overprotect, but we should protect. And after some time, I'm getting much more sensitive to what is my reasonable range. And fellows, let me tell you, it's never 5%. It's so much more than it. One of the things that I've seen about budget, that some budget, they might have a reserve of 5%. And to me, this is ridiculous. There should be much more. I know that one part of the budget is if you budget too much, eventually everything will be used. Because, okay, people use a budget if they have the budget.
The Parkinson law.
Thinking different. We will give you what we know or almost know you need, and we will have enough reserves. So whenever you need more, we will give you what you need more when you really need it. A very good way to think, I know, but come to think about it, you really need it. You need it. You need it in marketing. You need it in operations. You need it in purchasing. You need it in managing your people. You need it all the way. And many organizations are using forecasts in order to put targets to people. It is also in projects to program this kind of model. Our normal target is in 6 weeks or in 2 weeks, you need to finish it. At least once you do it, you ensure one thing: it will not take less than 2 weeks.
No, this is quite
days. Yeah. I'm going to waste the time until the 2 weeks, or I will check the quality into details that are not required by anyone. So why? We need to ask this kind of questions. It also will have an impact on the measurement systems that we use on our people. And eventually, Albert, tell me, If you go to the university, I don't know, in my university, I got a mark that was in a percentage. So I got 84% in a certain exam. Does 84% is more than 80 and less than 88? Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Passed well enough. That's it. We don't need to go into details. If you were much about 90, well, you did very well. If you did below 70 or 60, sorry,
Marginal.
you failed. Okay, fellow, we cannot go to much more distinction between them. We don't need these very small, discrete numbers, not in work, not in the university, not anywhere. We need to understand what is good enough, what is a breakthrough, and what is a failure. This we need to make a very clear distinction between them.
Thank you, Ellie. Thank you. The time flies if we discuss those subjects.
Time flies. Let us
want
see
to go.
what questions people might have.
Yes, I'm very curious because we deliberately did not follow the chat that would disturb us. So we are very curious. But thank you again, Ellie, for this great insights, and also the simple examples that you gave to day-to-day life of doing groceries, catching a flight, carrying an umbrella with you if it starts to rain, or I can think about many things that we do, that we deal with uncertainty in our daily lives, and we are a bit anxious to do it in our professional life, and we should take care of it. Yeah. Good.
Okay.
Nasia, can you bring in questions? Most organizations have a risk assessment process and strategy. Is this need to be expanded or for unexpected uncertainties?
Look, for me, risk assessment is part of the unexpected uncertainty, sort of. Expected, but with very low probability. So they certainly are not common. Okay? We need to see that if suddenly the government will make a change in the tax system and this will impact our market, we need to give kind of a warning about it, and maybe it should be included in our strategy. I really speak about day-to-day management because this is where we lose huge amount.
Yeah, and the risk assessment is more about something you have to protect yourself in other ways. Take an insurance.
Yeah, so look, if I'm a supermarket and a new product is in and it could succeed and it could fail, okay, at the beginning, I don't know. I don't want to buy too much. I don't want to buy too low, generally speaking. But what about the normal?
Yeah.
Do I know really how much will be sold next week? And then there could be some trends. Come on. We need something much simpler. We need something that we understand, that we buy a little bit more, just to make sure that at any given time, we will have it available. You know that in supermarkets, the overall availability normally is less than 80%. Come on. For me, this is not especially acceptable.
Yeah.
I'm not going into much more with it, but
no, I think
yes.
We have to bring up also the next question.
Good.
Hi, Ellie. Can you also put the name there who asked that question? Hi, Ellie. I'm always truly amazed by the rate at which Elon Musk seems to get things at SpaceX that are highly complex with high technical uncertainty done very fast. Most companies will take as long to plan as take to get the job done. Yeah,
I'm
that's a
really
nice
not
statement.
sure that I will take Elon Musk as a kind of a guru for management. He's certainly a very inspirational guy, absolutely. But he takes huge amount of risks. And part of the thing after he took so much and part of them really succeeded, which is great, I think he's a little bit better immune. But generally speaking, even for something like running Tesla as a business that sells, let us say, regular products, not really regular, but common, but they need to at least manage that when they promise delivery, most of the time they will be able to deliver on time. How to do this? In order to do this, you need to go to buffers and buffer management in order to achieve this part. So I will go much more to this rather than speak about kind of inspirational guys that take huge amount of risk. I assume he's very well aware.
I had a company, a customer already years ago, and they had a very advanced project that they had to deliver. And because that will generate a breakthrough also for them as a company and in the market. Then I said, yeah, but if you want to do this, it was a not very well organized multi-project environment. So yeah, you can do it. You have to look at the U2 project. And they built the U2 plane, I think also in much less time than like Elon Musk there. And I said, yeah, but they had a skunk yard and they locked everybody up and no distraction. And then they made it happen. Oh, they said, we have a skunk yard. And really, in the next weekend, they moved all the equipment there. They had this, they're not multi-project management anymore, but it was single project management. They put it in the skunk yard and they made it happen. And the nice thing is, even today, if I speak to people, and maybe there are people on the call here who know about this project, if you speak about that, they all remember that project. So you can do it.
But what we try to do is to make this kind of achievement regular achievement.
Yeah, you could not do this regularly. No.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I really wanted to say that those common and expected uncertainty is a much bigger problem than the companies believe. Because too many companies believe, yes, risk, how do we, Elon Musk, how do we make this kind of decisions? But they are hit by much lower, mundane kind of decisions that are done every day. But in order to have a very good business, you need to be truly reliable. So how you are making yourself reliable?
Yeah. Next question, please. Do we need to communicate the importance of buffers to the client? Or are we still responsible for the risks, and in any case, we should put the buffers in the planning ourselves, even if the client may be against it?
Okay, it depends on your relationship with the client. Most of the time, say, I need to put buffers for me. If I promise you, my client, a certain date, I need to put my buffers. Now, depending on the relationship with the client, if the client insists that he needs to look on at the plan, so do I try to cheat him and to show him without buffers, or do I be straight with the client and show him with the buffers? This really depends on what I know about the client. Do I trust the intelligence of the client? Because I can explain it very easily. Or should I not? I'm not going into this kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree with that, but it's also to which detail are you going to show the plan? Because if you do it on a higher level, you have also built in the buffers on a higher level. So to some extent you can share that. Yes. Next question, please. This is the last question before the regular time. Question: what risk management tools should we look at to evaluate high risk with low probability? Oh, I'm not
Look
really
again,
expert in that.
this is a very important question, but for me, this is not for me, this question right now. Look, my whole point is to catch your attention to the other side, because almost everybody is dealing with this question: how to evaluate high risks in the government or in any big, truly big company. And I agree, there need to be very good risk management tools. But even this, how you come to evaluate uncertainty if you don't deal with the daily ones, those that hit you every day, but you still need to perform to your clients.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know when I worked for the Dutch Railways, I was sitting at the site that we have to put projects in the market, and we gave the suppliers already a set of risks that they had to manage. And but this was and there are indeed many tools about it. Also in Epic Flow, we mainly deal with the day-to-day, with the expected uncertainty, and not with this type of uncertainty. I think Anastasia told me we have one more question she would like to put here.
Well, how well can AI define and deal with uncertainties nowadays? To my mind, there is a need that the AI developers, companies that develop AI, will understand the role of uncertainty and embedded it within the algorithm. I never programmed in AI or anything like this, but I have quite a lot of programming experience, and I think this is doable and this is absolutely required. First of all, because anytime the AI recommends me to do something, personally, I like to know how sure you are about this recommendation. Are you sure 100%, or only 80%, or 60%? I understand many times the question cannot be absolutely decided. But please, if AI now capable of identifying a photo and connected it to other photos, so they will see me photo here, and then they will identify me as Eli Schragenheim. But sometimes they are making a mistake. And if the justice system are relying on it, that this is absolutely certain identification, this could cause misjustice.
Yeah.
So I need it from every point of view. I need AI to estimate the level of uncertainty, to help me to decide what my buffers should be, if maybe even recommend me what buffers to choose. So in the vast majority of the cases, I will be delivering what I need to deliver.
Yeah. It's nice that you
wasting
tell
too
about
much.
the percentages. We are now heavily investing in AI because I think this is the way to go. And for the resource allocation, that's one important subject. Who to propose to do the next task, and there we let AI give an advice, not based on competences but on historical data. And there we also put a percentage. With that percentage, we think, okay, so we also put a percentage in the UI, in the screen, that the user eventually, what Simon says, the human should decide, because we cannot incorporate all the knowledge in our system. We can't. And how well can we define uncertainties? What we can do, and where AI helps us, we structure our data in Epic Flow. And that was already before we had AI. That was already the most work to structure your data, because now AI can learn. And so this is how uncertainty can help nowadays, by looking at the history that you have built up. Yeah.
Yes, and
Good.
I
Hey,
like, look, from what I see, someone asked the question about KPIs. Look, in order to understand what KPI I ask, and then I will have, again, measurement system that comes in a range. Like I said about marks in the university, anything between 70% and 90% is good enough. Above 90 is excellent, below is fail.
yeah.
And I need to do it also about employees, in which I will expect that about 90% of the employees are good. They are good employees. But if I like to check it, then I need to put it there. I need to put it also into myself, because I will never deliver 100% of all my deliveries to the market, whatever delivery, not 100%. But I need to see whether it is about right or not, how it was last year and I need to see that here also there is a KPI that if I learn a little bit more, I could do even better.
Okay. Thank you, Ellie. I think we are out of time. Eh? I don't know if there are many other burning questions, but you can always ask us questions. Thank you very much for your insights. Yeah, let's see how we can continue the conversation. Thank you very much.
Excellent. And fellows, everyone, any questions that I did not have time, if you write to me, you can get my email address, if it is possible.
We will share it in the chat. Yeah.
Please share it in the chat, and you can approach me with a question, and I promise to answer.
Okay, that's a good promise. Okay,
yes,
thank you very much, everyone, and have a nice day.
Thank you all.